Hi, welcome to Computer Networking and Internet. Today we are going to discuss network security. I am your host, Dr. Itara Anantawarasin. The topics that we are going to cover today are principle of network security, which consists of confidentiality, message integrity, authentication, and access and availability. We are going to see what are these principles, and we are going to see how can we implement all these principle in practice. What are network security principles? First, confidentiality. Okay, the only sender and intended receivers are the persons that could understand the message content. So you want to keep your message secret. And we would like to make it clear, all right, that in network security, we are going to assume that the communication channel is open and public. The key here is that we are going to keep our messages secret, even it can be read or seen by the third party. Next point is message integrity. The sender and receiver want to make sure that the messages has not been altered or tampered with along the way or after it is received. Well, if the message has been changed or altered, the receiver is supposed to be able to detect that something is wrong and something has been changed. The next point is the authentication. The sender and receiver want to confirm identity of each other. Means that even though we are talking to our partner in secret, okay, nobody can understand our messages. But how can you be sure that the guy that we are talking to is the guy that we actually want to talk to? It could be some other guys pretend to be our partner. Keeping the message secret, keeping the message intact, verifying our partner are the key principle of network security. But these principles or these features would be useless if they are not available for everybody to gain such properties easily. So the last principle is equally important: access and availability. Okay, the network security services must be available for all, even though they are not technician. Before we go on, let us discuss a few characters that we're going to use in our discussion today. Alice, Bob, and Trudy. Alice and Bob are two partners that want to talk to each other. Okay, so they're going to talk to each other over this channel that is public. Okay, so this is open channel. Everybody can listen to their conversation, including Trudy. Trudy is the bad guy here. She doesn't like that Bob and Alice are so friendly to each other. She wants to know what they are talking about, and sometimes she might want to jeopardize the communication between Alice and Bob. In the real world, all right, uh, Bob and Alice could be web server and web browser. Alice could be web browser that wants to access service provided by Bob. Okay, that could be just a webmail, online banking, Facebook, or Bob could be DNS servers, and Alice could be the network client that want to resolve IP address from the domain name. All right, or there could be routers that exchanging routing tables, or the Bob could be a remote machine or remote server, and Alice is the one that wants to connect to these servers. So what can Trudy do? Okay, first she can eavesdrop the messages that are sent between Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob could be sending email to each other, and Trudy simply read them. Or Alice could be web browser, and Bob is the web server. It could be online banking, Facebook, Hotmail, Gmail, whatever. And Trudy is reading the communication between Alice and Bob, taking, for example, login and password that Alice is typing into the login form. Trudy can also actively insert the messages into the connection, pretending to be either Alice or Bob in the middle of their communication. Trudy could also conducting impersonation For example, she is faking the server or IP addresses of a server, pretending to be Facebook.com, or pretending to be fake online banking server. All right, or maybe she can just hijack the DNS records. And when I want to access the Facebook.com, I don't know IP of Facebook. I want to so I consult my DNS server, to resolve the IP from the domain name. And that DNS server is actually a Trudy server, and then she is redirecting me instead of connecting to the actual Facebook IP to her server's IP, and she gonna gain access to my login password, for instance. Another thing is she could just taking over communication. For example, I have logged into Facebook, and Facebook has given me the token to prove that I have already been logged in, and somehow Trudy just take my session token and pretend to be me, with bypassing the login process. The last one is the denial of service. This attack is the attack such that the attacker, in this case Trudy, deny the service from a server, for example, Amazon, Facebook, or Hotmail. And of course, Trudy cannot just go and hack Amazon because these guys, they hire a lot of experts and engineers to prevent this. Trudy know that. So what she could do is that she hacked us instead, just layman people like you and me. All right. So she kind of plant kind of software or malware into our machines, and then this malware is programmed to access Amazon or Facebook or Hotmail at the same time. It could be New Year's Eve or Christmas Day, whatever, all right? And once we once we access the server at the same time, and we are not talking about 5 people or 10 people, we talk about 50,000 people, 10,000, 100,000 people attacking one server or one set of server at the same time. And that crippled the server. It basically crowd the server with invalid requests from this, what we call zombie clients, all right, preventing the eligible client, normal people, all right, that wants to access Amazon or Hotmail. And this attack is proven to be successful from time to time because there is actually no practical, there is no way that the server would know that this request is from zombie client or from actual client. All right. So how the company is preventing this kind of attack is that they employ what we call the content delivery network, or CDN. All right. In CDN, they install servers, in many parts of the world. So we can have many servers that are running at the same time. If the traffic is high in one place, or traffic is high in a particular time, the system will mitigate the request. We just divert the request to the servers that are available. All right, and they don't just have just 3 or 4. They could have like 10, 30, or even 100 servers around the globe. And this is how they prevent the attack. And preventing attack is one thing. This technique is also useful when you want to manage traffic. Sometimes when the Netflix release new content or new movies, a lot of people might want to access Netflix at the same time. So Netflix gonna redirect or divert this request to the available servers that are provided. But today, all right, we're gonna focus on the first 2 points: eavesdropping and the message insertion. This is to protect yourself from attack in the personal level. And in order to do that, we're gonna discuss a few things, starting from cryptography. Cryptography is the study of techniques for secure communication. It is derived from Greek words secure writing. Cryptography has been employed for thousands of years already, and most well-known ancient crypto is Caesar cipher. Okay, so there are two types of cryptography. First is to cipher. Okay, that is character to character or bit by bit transformation. You have algorithm to change one information to another format of information, one character to another character, or one bit, one sequence or stream of bits to another stream of bits. All right, and another kind of cryptography is code to code. Coding is the practice where you replace one word with another word or sentences. For example, Morse code, where you have short long, representing S, or short long, I don't know, representing M, and so on. In this case, there is no particular algorithm to transfer one symbol, one character to another character. You just have to know the code words. You need to know the code mapping, that okay, this symbol represent that character, this symbol represent that character. There is no algorithm. Let's introduce some terminology that we are going to use in our discussion today. First, we have Alice and Bob. As we mentioned before, these two guys want to talk to each other. All right. When Alice expect that the communication could be eavesdropped by the third guy, which is in this case Trudy. All right, Alice could encrypt her message that are sent to Bob. In this case, we have plain text, which is the original text that is written by Alice. All right, she could put this plain text into encryption algorithm. Okay, and once the plain text is being encrypted, it transfers into what we call a ciphertext or encrypted text. We're going to use these three words interchangeably in different contexts. Then after Bob received the ciphertext from Alice, Bob could use decryption algorithm to decode or decrypt this ciphertext back into plain text. This original text or plain text is the same as this plain text right here. All right. So Alice and Bob are expecting Trudy to listen to their communication. So how could you be sure that Trudy will never be able to understand or decrypt the ciphertext, like ever? Well, there could be a few things. We could maybe keep changing the algorithm. Okay, every time when Alice sends things to Bob, Alice gonna be like, okay, now we're gonna use algorithm 1, algorithm 2, algorithm 3. This would be, well, comparable to changing the different lock all the time. All right, or you can do something a little bit easier by, instead of changing the algorithm or the lock itself, we can change what we call the key. All right, so the lock would be the same, but we're going to change some small information that Alice and Bob, okay, agreed upon. Without changing the entire, we are going to keep the decryption, or I don't know, encryption and decryption algorithm the same. All right, we change the key. Okay, of course, changing the key is easier than changing the entire mechanism. All right. Let's have a look at some example. This is the example of ciphering and deciphering device called the Enigma machine. This machine allows the operator to change a little bit of the configuration, and by altering the configuration, the messages, the encrypted or ciphertext, will never be the same. This machine is created by Arthur Chabus in 1918, and it was used by Nazi Germany. The machines can be reconfigured up to 159 quintillions possible settings. That is 76-bit key. We're gonna talk a lot. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the length of keys later. With such vast number of possibilities, the Germans were certain that the Allies cannot crack their machine. But we will see later that the Ally has a very genius way to, well, successfully crack it. Anyway, why do the Germans has gone through this link to encode that communication. Why can't they just send the communication to any other private channels? The problem is that all communications during the World War II and also today are open. Basically, when you broadcast your signal, when you broadcast your messages from one unit to another, or from command center to the units, all sides will receive that signal, and you can't prevent it because this is just normal radio broadcast. So how does this machine work? The Enigma machine composed of a few important units. The first is are the letter wheels. Okay, each wheel has 26 numbers from 1 to 26, or some versions has characters from A to Z. Okay, and we have this keyboard. Okay, you can type plain text in, like for example, I love you, or attack at this time, or go left or go right. Okay, just type in. But when you type in any character, the encoded character will be shown here in this light bulb. As you can see here, when you close this lid, you will see the that character will be lit up. For example, you type A, and the machine is gonna be like O, and you type B, the machine will show Y. When you type C, machine might show E, and you just send these messages, the encoded messages or encoded character, through radio channels. All right, and the receiver, we have the similar machine, type that letter back to the machine, and the correct character will just lit up into this into this bulbs. So, for example, I can just, if I type A and the machine say C, and I type B, machine say E, and I type C, the machine say, I don't know, X. Okay, you type this character C E X into your and you just send this CEX through over the air using Morse code or whatever. All right, and the receiver has to type C, E, and X back into the keyboard, and then the machine will light up A, B, and C back. All right, the main thing here is that both sender and receiver had to set up the machine in exactly the same configuration. And what can they set? First, they will have to select the wheel. All right, 3 wheels out of 5 wheels. So gonna have each set gonna have 5 wheels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're going to select 3 of them here. Depends on the configuration, but they need to agree, like, okay, select number 1, number 3, and say number 4. Okay, both sender and receiver had to select the same wheel. Next one is that they need to plug this cable in the same configuration, like plug O to, I don't know what one is this, maybe X, and U to, I don't know, N, for example. You need to plug these switchboards into the in the same configuration as well. All right, and once both sender and receiver do the same thing, the typing and when you type, it will show the same character, which is awesome. All right. This is the military version. This is actually available for businesses and commercial use as well. In that version, you don't have this switchboard. You just have this keyboard and just these wheels. All right. So anyway, the sender and the receiver must set the machine into exactly the same configuration. So how do they do that? They have this plan. Okay, they have the configuration book. All right, and what they do is that they each day they have to select the wheels exactly as shown in this plan. All right, and then plug the switchboard exactly as shown in this plan, and then once they achieve this, okay, they can just read the messages or send the messages between any unit. But the thing is, what if the ally capture the unit? They just have to burn this. Okay, they just have to burn this, and that's it. But then here's another point. They have to distribute this book, the code book, okay, to every unit. Otherwise, if you don't have the book, if you have the machine without the book, then the machine is useless as well. So here is the main challenge. You need to distribute this book, and you need to. I believe they distribute this every month or so. Okay, so that the book got updated at the same time. And if they lost the book, okay, if they lost the book, for example, the enemy captured this book, they will just lose maybe a month max, because the next month this new book gonna come. All right. So that's how Enigma machine operates. Enigma machine, although super sophisticated, all right, has been finally cracked by pretty much one guy, Alan Turing, and his technique was improved by another mathematician called Gordon Welshman. And Alan Turing is one of the most prominent mathematicians and computer scientists of all time. His machine, Bomber, is derived from the Polish version called Bomba, but it does a lot better. So what Bomber does is that it compares the encrypted text against the known plain text. Sometimes we call it known plain text attack, okay? And then rule out the contradicted Enigma setting. So basically what it means is that we are gonna compare two things, the original text or plain text and the encrypted text, okay? And find out what configuration of Enigma that result into this encrypted text. And how do they know the plain text? How do they know the original text? They know that German military is going to announce weather forecast each day. They're gonna announce something like, today is 5th of March. Today is gonna be a sunny day. All right, they know this specific format of announcement. So in this case, they can just guess that, okay, this is the original text, this is the encrypted text, and find out the settings. And the Bomber trying to not to find the correct one, but try to rule out the incorrect ones. And apparently they can rule out a lot of incorrect ones at once. So after the analysis, a few possible configurations can be given out, and people can manually try, okay, or basically guess the correct configurations by hand later. If you are interested in how we use code during World War II, there are two movies I could recommend. The one on the left-hand side, it is the Imitation Game, played by the Benedict Cumberbatch. All right, he plays Alan Turing, and it tells the story of how Alan Turing created his machine to crack the Enigma code. On the right-hand side, we have The Windtalkers by Nicolas Cage. I have to admit that it is not as entertaining as it should be, but it tells another aspect of using code during the war. The guy on his shoulder right here on the right-hand side, he is a Navajo soldier. What he did is that he talks in code, and the code that he talks is just Navajo dialect that is proven to be very difficult to be understood by the enemy. All right, at the end of the war, it is said that nobody can crack that code because it is simply too difficult. All right, the grammar is difficult, the wording is difficult, and how they use the code or symbols to express the objects in the battlefields, like the tanks or the airplane, is are very difficult to figure out. Coming back to present day, all right. Today we have many algorithms or methods or techniques to encrypt and decrypt our data. We can divide all these algorithms into two groups. Okay, we call first one we call symmetric key cryptos. Okay, the other one is public key cryptos. Symmetric key cryptos. Okay, in symmetric key cryptos, the sender and receivers are sharing the same key. So you are using the same key to encrypt the message and decrypt the message. And both sender and receiver must keep this key secret to themselves. This is comparable to the Enigma code book. The sender and the receiver must share the same book, otherwise they will not be able to configure their machines correctly. The other one, in public key cryptos, okay, the encryption key and the decryption key are different. The encryption key, all right, just to keep it this conversation simple, all right, keep this in mind a little bit, all right. This is not correct, but just for the sake of this conversation, just keep in mind that the encryption key could be public. It means that everybody can have this key, okay? And decryption key is private. The receiver must keep this key secret. In this sense, okay, it means that if Alice wants to send something to Bob, Alice is going to use his Bob's public key to encrypt the data, and Bob will use his private key to decrypt the data. All right, and we're going to discuss a little bit more on this, how it works later during the class. Anyway, in both schemes, the strength of the crypto is the size of the key, depends directly on the size of the key. So imagine that you have, well, I mean, the real key. Let's just have a look at this. Let me draw it. This is your key, all right? Right, like this, okay? See, the number of teeth here, the more teeth you have, in this case 7, all right, the harder the lock picker would be able to guess the actual, okay, configuration of your key, okay? Let's just have a look at another example of the symmetric key crypto. Okay, we have seen one already. That is the Enigma machine, and this one is called Caesar cipher. That dates, well, they said back to the Roman time. Caesar cipher is much simpler than the Enigma machine. Okay, what Caesar cipher does is that it replaces a character with another character of the next k position. For example, if we set k equals 3, all right, we're gonna shift a to 3 positions, A to D, B to E, or Z. Well, it's gonna go back to A, B, and C. This is the encrypted character. For example, if we set, okay, well, k to something, all right, A change to M, B change to D, B change to N, and C change to B, and so on. You will be able to guess that K in this case is 13, all right, 13 character to the right hand side. And if you send plain text, Bob, I love you, Alice, you're gonna have something like this as your ciphertext, all right? And what Alice has to do is that Alice know that, okay, I and Bob agrees that our K is going to be 13. Alice had to shift this thing back 13 character into original plain text, like so. Well, but the question is that how hard it is to crack this code. Well, there are few ways to crack this, all right? But just before we go on, before we go there, let's just discuss a little bit about the strengths of this. Well, as you may guess, all right, well, you know that we have 26 character, all right, if we don't have, if you don't count the special symbols or non-English characters, okay, well, in this case, we have 26. Therefore, we are, our K could be between 1 and 20, well, 25 actually, because if we shift 26, it's basically come back to the same place. It wouldn't make any sense. All right. Yeah. Well, what it could do is this. Well, it means that we can just keep guessing. Like K is 1, K is 2, K is 3, K is 4, and so on. Provided that we know that Alice and Bob is using Caesar cipher. We just have to guess the K. All right, we can do that. That's one way. And this technique is what we call brute force style. All right, brute force technique basically guess all possible keys. Okay, and you can see here, if we use Caesar cipher, we can guess from K1 to 26, which is not very hard to do. We can just do it in, like, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. All right. But in modern algorithms, this space, we call it the key space, okay, or the space where you need to search for the correct key, is super large. All right. Therefore, as I told you, the strength of the crypto is the size of the key that crypto can express. Caesar cipher, you can, if you don't do brute force, for example, if you have like Chinese character, for instance, that could go up to, I don't know, 30, 50,000 characters, it wouldn't make any sense to just keep guessing which K are using, and the order of the Chinese character is also different than English or Roman character, where you start from A to Z. So what can we do? This is the frequency of the English characters. Okay, for example, E is used most in English languages. They basically check, okay, the entire English dictionary and see which characters are used most. All right, and we have the leading characters right here. E, okay, is the most used ones, and then followed by T, okay, and A, and of course there are I and O and L. There's more than U, which is more. Well, that's I find that strange, but okay, and also D. Anyway, we can predict. Okay, we can take these frequencies and map this frequency in the ciphertext. Okay, for example, if you see that in ciphertext D is used most, okay, followed by X, for instance, or followed by Y, you might guess that, okay, maybe D is here and X is here and maybe Y is here. And then with this frequency method, you can, all right, you can guess the mapping between, like, okay, D could be E and Y could be A and so on. And well, it works, okay? Therefore, today, we don't use Caesar cipher anymore. Okay, so let's just fast forward, I don't know, 2,000 years to the present day, okay, or almost present day. One of the most advanced, okay, it used to be advanced, the encryption algorithm is called the Data Encryption Standard, or DES. All right, this algorithm, or DES, has been introduced in 1976. It uses 56-bit symmetric key. All right, and if you can remember the number, 56-bit is a little bit weaker than the number of configurations of Enigma machine. All right, so it can represent up to 72 quadrillion possible keys. DES used what we call a block cipher technique. All right, you're gonna divide. What it does is that it divides the stream of bit 1 and 0, 1 and 0 into blocks. Okay, blocks of bits, and each block is 64-bit long. Okay, and then you gonna, what it does is that it kind of scramble all these blocks together. In the end, you're gonna have different stream of bits, and the receiver, okay, we're gonna have these, gonna have to descrambling this block back to the original stream of bits. The system, all right, DS, has been co-developed by IBM and NSA. Okay, well, in 1976, it was quite strong, but it was proven to be weak when you are using the current machine to pretty much guess the key. Okay, in 1977, it took 96 days to brute force search the correct key. What does it mean is that 56-bit is not that strong. Even though you are using the power of computer 20 years ago. So, well, the new one were introduced. It is what we call the Advanced Encryption Standard, or AES. This time, okay, it was developed by Belgian mathematicians Vincent Reichmann and Johan Damon in 2001. It is specified by the National Institute of Standards and Technology on NIST, okay, and also included in the government standard, the US government standard, ISO IEC 180333, okay, in 2002. That means that this is the standardized encryption algorithm. All right, and the original developers, Reichmann and Damon, has already expressed since the beginning that this encryption algorithm must be free and available to anyone without any licenses. Their method, okay, it is still using block cipher algorithm, okay, but instead of 64-bit blocks, the AES is using 128-bit block. All right, and it supports three kind of key lengths: 128, 192, and 256-bit key. The machine that broke the AES, okay, in 1 second would take 149 trillion years, not second, year, to break AES. Okay, it is currently unbroken, even though it is introduced quite a long time ago, 20 years ago. It is currently unbroken, and it is used in everything you're using today. It is used to encrypt data in hard drive. It is used to encrypt data that are sent through Wi-Fi. Okay, it is used to data that are sent through HTTPS protocol, instant messages, web pages, basically everything we are using today. Even though symmetric cryptos such as AES is very strong, all right, it has a very big disadvantage that we are going to discuss in the next few minutes. But before we go on there, let's just summarize the elements of the symmetric crypto first. We have Alice, who wants to send information to Bob, okay, and we call that information plain text denoted by M here, okay. Alice used encryption algorithm to encrypt plain text with the key KS. S here stands for symmetric key, okay, and we have this ciphertext KSM denoting that we are encrypting message M using key KS. Okay, what Bob does when he wants to decode or decrypt the message back to the original plain text M, he is going to use decryption algorithm, okay, along with the symmetric key KS to decrypt back. So we have the plaintext message M that is equal to using the key KS to decode or decrypt the message, the ciphertext KSM, and Bob get the message M back. All right. Now, this seems simple, but here's a big question. How do Bob and Alice agree on the key value? All right. We know that Enigma machine is also symmetrically crypto, and the German military tried to distribute the code book to all units on the battlefield. All right, and that would be, well, huge effort, but they have no choice. Okay, if they want to make it work, that's how they're gonna do. But here's this: they know, okay, they might have some protocol to exchange code books. They're gonna prove that, okay, this is the actual code book, not the fake ones. And more importantly, they have people, they have soldiers, they have the delivery unit that handle the code books to the units on the field. But how can Bob and Alice exchange this key if they are so far apart? For example, Bob could be in the US, Alice is in Bangkok, and every time when Alice want to do some business with Bob, well, do they have to like go to take the plane and go to their places and exchange the key? And if they want to change the key every month or every week, are they going to travel to each other place to exchange the key in person? Well, in the settings where you have to be really secrecy, then maybe that is the case, maybe that's worth it. But of course, we can't do that all the time, okay? It wouldn't make sense. And this problem, okay, is what we call key distribution problem. We cannot never know, all right, that we do not have the way to safely exchange the key unless we meet personally. All right, we can send this key using post. We can just talk on the phone, but how can you be sure that Trudy is not intercepting the post or tapping the phone when Alice and Bob are exchanging keys? Okay, this is the ultimate problem. The ultimate problem of cryptography, and it has been bugging a lot of people until, well, 1970s. This problem has been solved, well, just a few decades ago. And here's how it works. This problem is solved by what we call public key cryptography. All right, let's have a look. Public key cryptography has a few more elements. Okay, we have Alice and Bob, and again, Alice wants to send some message M to Bob. Okay, but here Alice doesn't use symmetric key to encrypt the message. She is using Bob's public key. Okay, we are denoting public key of Bob by K plus, okay, KB plus, key public of Bob. Okay, so what she does is that she encrypts her message M using a common encryption algorithm along with Bob's public key. We have ciphertext KB plus M. Okay, and when Bob wants to decrypt the message, Bob is using common decryption algorithm that is known to everybody. along with his private key denoted by KB minus in contrast to plus here. All right, so he is applying KB minus on the ciphertext KB plus M, and he gets message M back. This public key crypto changed the entire world because it solved the biggest problem of cryptography by not worrying about key distribution anymore. You can just advertise your public key anyhow you like. Bob can put his public key on his website, on his at the end of his email, at the end of the document, or in footer of his document. He can just, put it on YouTube. All right. He doesn't care. What he has to keep secret is just his private key only. So the problem is that we are going to need the algorithm that allows us to have two things. First, the public key, okay, and the private key, such that when you encrypt anything with the public key, you can decrypt it back to the original message using the private key, okay? And then we just, care about one thing, keep our private ones private. There are many attempts to introduce or to come up with such algorithm until, well, three guys, Ron Rivest, Adi Shamir, and Leonard Edelman, finally be able to come up with the algorithm with such properties, okay? They call this algorithm ISA, well, stand for Rivest, Shamir, and Edelson, the guys that invented this, okay? It is very strong algorithm, okay? It accepts up to 2048 bits key, okay? It exploits very difficult mathematical problem that is to determine whether the number is prime. ISA is actually a very difficult algorithm, but we're going to try to explain it in a simple term. We're going to see how we use ISA to encrypt the message, and we are going to see how can we use ISA to decrypt the message. ISA, to use ISA, all right, we're gonna have two randomized two prime numbers, P and Q, okay, and that again, and these numbers can be picked at random. All right, so let's just pick let's just pick 29 and 31. Okay, next step, we are going to multiply P and Q together, and multiply 29 and 31. We have 899. Okay, but note that 899, okay, is the multiplication of two prime numbers. Therefore, there are two numbers in the entire universe that are the factors of 899, which is 29 and 31. Next, we calculate T by multiply the P minus 1 and Q minus 1. In this case, we have 29 multiplied by 30, and we have 840. Next, we're going to pick another number prime, E, that is a coprime to T. What it means is that the only positive integer that is a divisor of both numbers is 1. Okay, so let's just pick 11. Now, we can find D such that D times E equals 1 mod T. What it means is that if we move T, okay, to this side, we're going to have D by E divided by T. The remainder of such a product would be, term would be 1. After trying several numbers, we have D that is equal to 611, okay? Now we have 611 multiplied by E, okay, right here, this term right here, okay? We have 6,721, okay? Now, we divide this number by 840 equals to 8 with remainder of 1. Okay, so now we have D that has such properties. Okay. Finally, we have 29, 31. These are two prime numbers that we just randomized, all right, in the beginning. Now, and then we're going to have 899, which is the product of the two numbers. We have 840, which is the product of 29 minus 1 and 31 minus 1. Okay, and we have E, which is co-prime of this guy, and we have 611, okay, that has these properties right here. Okay, now we have all elements that we need. We can compute our public and private keys. The public key is the pair N and E, okay, 899 and 11. And the private key is the pair N and D, 899 and 611. All right, we call this the modulus, and we call this public exponent. Okay, that is the exponent that you can advertise to public. And we have D, secret exponent or private exponent, the exponent that you need to keep secret. This one is shared, of course, by public as well. Now, how it works is this. To encrypt the data, to encrypt plaintext M, we can use the formula C equals to M to the power of E mod N, okay? Remember that this is your public exponent, this is your modulus. Okay, C is your encrypted text. Example, okay, we have the message W that you want to send. You can encode W to 199 using ASCII code. Okay, you can just basically use any way you like. Now, we have the 199, which is the W. Okay, so we're going to do is this. We have 199, which is the message M. Okay, you are going and then 199 power 11 mod 899 equals to 595, and we are going to send this. This is your encrypted text. You're going to send 595 to your receiver. When the receiver wants to decrypt the message, okay, remember that is your 595 right here. Okay, what he's going to use is that he's going to apply this formula to the message by C, okay, which is C to the power of D mod N, your modulus. That's going to come back to the original message. Let's have a look at this. We have 595 to the power of 611 mod 899 equals to 119. That is our original message right here. Okay, so we have M to the power of E mod N equals to C, and C to the power of D mod N equals back to M, and you can use it both ways. This is how you encrypt and decrypt data using ISA. Voila. The strength of ISA is this. See, all cryptos, okay, the strength of all crypto, it depends directly on how long the key is, okay? Well, let's just discuss a little bit on the strength of ISA right here. Right, see, we select, okay, in our example, we select N quite small. Our N is 899, which is the product of P and Q, which is the small prime, 29 and 31, all right? See this. N is used by both receiver and the sender, right? Because this is a common modulus that are sent, that is also part of public key. So everybody knows this. What it doesn't know, okay, what public doesn't know is that where N comes from. It comes from these two numbers. All right, but if we select N, if we select N, that is small, you can just factor this number quite quickly by pretty much brute forcing. Okay, you can just guess, okay, to 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on until you reach 29, and then you divide 899 by 29, you get this number. All right. So the key is that you need to select n that is large enough. Sorry. You need to select P and Q that are large enough such that you're going to have this large number too. And the larger the number, the harder it is to factor the two prime numbers, okay, that contributes to this n, right? And without knowing P and Q, you cannot compute T. And if you cannot compute T, you cannot compute D, even though you know E, okay? And once you create this number, okay, by multiply P and Q together, you can practically throw P and Q away, okay? But once you throw them away, you cannot regenerate T and D back. So, well, that's up to you, okay? If you want to be super secure, you can just throw this away and forget about that. But if you do that, you cannot regenerate your private key back, and that could be risky as well. All right. So we have discussed a little bit about the prime factorization and so on. So let's just get into detail a little bit about that right here, okay? The main idea of ISA is based on two key prime numbers, P and Q, as we discussed before. Cracking ISA seems to be easy, but it is not, okay? The process of decomposing an integer to the product of prime is called prime factorization, and the problem is in the NP class or non-deterministic polynomial class. There is no known efficient algorithm, okay, to solve that in polynomial time. Therefore, it is super difficult to solve. It is as hard as Sudoku, traveling salesman, or just walking in a maze. But if you one day, okay, if one day you can solve this problem in P time or in polynomial time, that means that NP equals to P. If you find an algorithm that can do this, you are going to get, well, Turing prize that is equivalent to Nobel Prize in mathematics, okay? This is the holy grail of the mathematics. Anyhow, okay, even though we cannot solve this using our current technology, we might be able to solve that using quantum computer. One of the leading algorithm is Shor's quantum computing algorithm. It is proven that this can solve, okay, using Shor quantum algorithm, the problem of prime factorization can be solved in P time or in polynomial time, okay? Well, and you could ask me what would quantum computing help? Okay, well, in a nutshell, quantum computer doesn't solve things faster, but it can solve many things all at once. So you can have a look at many different kind of keys at the same time. Okay, and yeah, once you you can't just increase the time, but you can increase the space where you search, therefore reducing the time into P. The key of all this is to select the key that is large enough. Well, so ISA, okay, if it does a lot of stuff that it, well, tends to use or that is designed to do, it is solved, right? I mean, as long as quantum computing is not there, we can just use ISA for everything right now. Why do we need to care about simple key algorithm altogether? And I mentioned earlier that the AES is currently used in Wi-Fi, in HTTPS, pretty much everything. Why do we use ISA? The key is that ISA is slow and the encrypted data is large. This example, I took it from the website down here, okay? It encodes this message attack at dawn using ISA. First, you're gonna translate this into ASCII code, resulting in this line right here. But once you apply ISA to this little, code right here, you're gonna have this message. As you can see here, it is super large, and it is gonna be impractical to use ISA to decode or decrypt and encrypt large data such as video, pictures, or even instant messages, because you need to decrypt and encrypt in real time. Okay, so what we use today, is a mixture of public key crypto and symmetric key crypto, and we're going to have a look at the components, the method that we mix them together later in this class. Okay, so if you are interested in ISA, I also would like to recommend a book by Simon Singh, the Code Book. This is a book about history of cryptography from the Roman time to present day, or you can just Google ISA or how ISA works. You're gonna have a lot of YouTube video explaining ISA and the basic of public key cryptos. ISA, oh, by the way, before we leave here, before we move on to next topic, ISA is also used in cryptocurrency. So it is advisable, okay, to understand how it works. So we have discussed the first principle of network security, which is confidentiality. We want to keep our message secret, all right? At least want to keep messages that she exchanged with Bob in secret, and Trudy cannot understand what they are talking about. Now, we are going to discuss the next topic, which is the message integrity. Okay, message integrity means the message has not been altered or tampered with by anyone during the transmission or even after transmission. And if it has been tampered with or has been changed, the receiver is supposed to be able to detect or notice that, hey, somebody has changed it has been changed somewhere else. Example is this: Bob want to send message to Alice. Okay, Alice want to verify that the message has been sent from Bob and hasn't been changed somewhere along the way. To achieve this, okay, Alice and Bob need to agree on one function h, okay, that has a following property. Given the message m, it is very hard to find m prime such that h of m prime equals to h of m. That is, if you change m to m prime, if you somehow alter m and it changed to m prime, you notice the result. You notice that the result of h of m and h of m prime is different. Okay, you cannot assume that we have such function h. Okay, Alice can verify Bob's messages as follows. Bob sent both m and h of m and h of m as a pair to Alice, like so. Let me put that in onto using a pen. Okay, in the pair. Okay, the original message m. Okay, and h of m right here. Then after Alice received the pair, okay, she's going to apply h of h to m and check whether h of m equals to h of m. It sounds confusing, right? It works like this. So she has a pair, right? She receives a pair. She's going to apply h over m, okay, like so. So she has h of m, all right, right here. And she's going to compare with the value h of m that Bob sent her. If they are the same, okay, she can be sure that m is the original message that Bob sent her. because Bob is the one that generates this part. Okay? But the question is, do such functions exist? Well, H does exist indeed. All right, many of them exist actually. We call them hash functions. Okay, and hash function has the following properties. It is many to one function. Okay, it means that you could have many inputs that map to the same output. A hash function also produces a fixed size message digest. Okay, it is sometimes called a fingerprint. So what is a message digest or a fixed size digest? It means that no matter how large your message actually is, okay, it will produce the result that had the same digit. For example, if you apply SHA-256, okay, as a hash function, no matter how much or how large your message is, it will produce the result that has 256-bit long. Okay. Now, given the digest h of m right here, it is computationally infeasible to find m prime such that h of m prime equal to h of m. What does it mean? It means that you cannot just randomly generate this or change the message somehow and produce this pair. Okay, well, it is possible, of course, because hash function is many to one. So there could be the two inputs that maps to the same output. But our property here that we require is that our hash function should somehow prevent this to be easy to find this pair. All right, and of course the because it is many to one. If you have this h of m, okay, we call it a hash value, the result of hash function we call hash value. If you have hash value here, you cannot work back to original message. You can't predict, you can't compute back. There is no way. And the example of such function is mod. Okay. So what does it mean? It means that modulus, okay, mod is for modulus, right? It means that, for example, if you have 10 mod 3, okay, the result is 1. Okay, mod is to get the remainder of something, right? So you divide 10 by 3, you have 3, and the remainder is 1. Now, if I do that for 16, okay, 16 mod 3, that is 5, okay, and with the remainder of 1. See, if you see just 1 right here, you can't know whether the original message is 10 or 16. Okay, so but you can't use mod as hash function because in this case you are going to be able to find 16 quite easily. You're going to have to use function that is a little bit more sophisticated than this simple one, but you get the idea. So what are hash functions that we could use? All right, one of the most popular algorithm is MD5. Okay, the we have a new one coming up already, which is MD6, where MD5 or message digest 5 produces a 128-bit message digest. It has been used in many applications, including to check whether the file you have downloaded is correct or not, or to check whether the content in the CD or in Medium is correct or not. Okay, the newer version of message digest 6 MD6 produce instead of 128-bit digest, it produces 256-bit digest. Okay, another family of algorithm is secure hash algorithm or SHA. Well, the first version, SHA-1, produces 160-bit message digest. SHA-2, which is currently very popular, all right, produces 4 kind of digest you can choose from: 224, 256, 384 and 512-bit message digest, and you can configure the algorithm to produce the length of the digest that you like. Well, SHA-2 is the newest one though. SHA-2 has been introduced in 2001. In 2015, okay, NIST introduced another one, SHA-3, which is the newer version, but they are not going to say SHA-2 is being deprecated. They just introduce that, okay, you can use SHA-2 or SHA-3, which is a newer one. Now, we have discussed two principles of network security already, confidentiality and message integrity, okay? With these two principles, we know two things. We can keep our message secret using public key crypto or semi-secure cryptos, all right? We can also use hash function and message digest to verify whether the message that are being sent has been tampered with or not. Now, if Alice and Bob can verify two things, confidentiality and message integrity, here is the big question, all right? How could Alice and Bob know that they are talking to actual Alice and Bob, all right? If they have met in person and if they have exchanged the key in person, they can be sure that I am talking to Alice or I'm talking to Bob because I got Bob public key from Bob himself. But if they haven't met, if they are far apart, how are we going to verify whether Alice and Bob are actually Alice and Bob? The actual problem is that sometimes Alice and Bob are not person. They are just web browsers and web servers or two servers, two routers that want to talk to each other. How can these devices verify that, hey, I am legitimate device? And how can I verify that you are also a legitimate device? How can I be sure that I'm talking to you and you are you from, the company or a partner that I know, okay? And this is the problem of authentication, and this is what we are going to discuss next. Before we go on to authentication process, let's have a recap on public key crypto, all right? In public key crypto, we have two keys, public and private keys. Public key is open for everyone, and it is denoted by plus sign here. So KB plus refers to public key of Bob, all right, and private key is the key that is kept secret by the owner alone, and private key of Bob is denoted by KB minus key of Bob, and this plus minus sign denoting private key, all right. And the public key algorithm that we're going to discuss today is RSA. It is also the most popular one right now. All right, it's used in a lot of applications. RSA has a very awesome property such that if you encrypt the message, okay, M using public key, all right, you can use the private key to decrypt and get message back. Or on the other way around, if you encrypt the message, okay, using private key, you can use public key to decrypt the message back to the original plaintext message. All right, so you can use private key and public key both ways. Now, we are going to introduce a few more words here. First is digital signature. It is a cryptographic technique, okay, that works exactly the same as handwritten signatures, basically to prove that the owner, okay, is the one that executes or proves the transaction or the content in the document. All right. Well, when Bob digitally signed the document, we can say that Bob is the owner of the document, or he is the only one that could be approve the content of that document. All right, and digital signature must be verifiable and non-forgeable. Basically means that if Alice, who is the recipient of the message, wants to check whether this signature is from Bob, she could do it, and she can also prove that it is from Bob and Bob alone. All right, and this is, well, a little bit more complicated than you might think. See, for example, if you go to a bank, all right, and you want to prove that this is actually a bank, you know, because you walk into an office, all right, and the documents that are generated at the bank, okay, you can be sure that it is, well, from the bank because you got it from the bank employee. Well, if the employee gonna fake it, that's another problem, another question, but you can be quite certain that it is a legitimate document. But how can we do that if you haven't met the actual bank or Bob? All right. Also, when you go to a bank and you want to do transaction at the bank also want to prove that you are you who is going to be the one that execute any transactions. All right, bank is going to check few things. For example, your ID card, all right, and your signature, and all Thai account book, all right, has these signatures written at the back of that book, and the bank can verify that the signature that are signed on any paper is the same as the one on the book. All right, and then this can be considered multi-factor authentication. First authentication is your ID card. The second authentication is your signature. How do we sign a message using public key crypto? All right, suppose Bob wants to send a message to Alice, and he wants to make sure that Alice can verify that the message is from him. All right, but what Bob is gonna do is that he's gonna do two things. First, he encrypt the plain text or original message M using his private key, resulting in an encrypted message KB-M, or in this case we call it a signed message KB-M. And second, Bob will send both plain text M, the original text that he wants to send, all right, along with the encrypted or signed message KB-M in a pair KB-M and M. All right, take a look at this. Bob has this text M, all right, he encrypts this plain text using his private key KB-, resulting in this KB-M, and then along with the original text, he is creating a pair KB-M, M right here, and then send away to Alice. When Alice receives the pair, she is going to have the pair that looks like this. All right. So in the pair, she is going to know the original text M, okay, along with the KB-M. This is the encrypted version of the message M. What she's gonna do is that she's going to apply Bob's private key, public key, to this encrypted message KB-M, and as a result, she is supposed to get the original message M back, okay, because Bob is the only one that can encrypt using Bob's private key, and Bob's public key is the only key that can decrypt the message that is encrypted using Bob's private key. All right, now she's gonna compare the two M, okay, to each other. If the decrypted M is the same as the M in the pair that is sent by Bob, she can be sure a few things. That first, Bob signed M, okay, because of the reason I mentioned earlier. Bob is the only one that can encrypt data using his private key. No one else can sign M because, again, Bob is the only person that has a private key, and Bob signed M and not M prime. This pair, okay, this original M, kind of ensure that, hey man, this is the message, and because Bob is the only one that can generate this encrypted version, therefore I am signing this, okay, not anything else. Using RSA to encrypt the data and use as fingerprint is the classical way to generate a signed document. All right. However, RSA is not very efficient because it is quite slow, and the resulting encrypted message tends to get large quickly. So therefore, instead of encrypting the entire message, the original message, what we could do is that we apply hash function over the original message. As the result, we're going to have this fixed side fingerprint, okay, and we encrypt that fingerprint instead. As you may recall, okay, one of the features of our hash function is that no matter how large this message is, once you apply the function, okay, you're going to have the hash value or the resulting value of the fixed length. For example, SHA-256 produce 256-bit long result, and if you apply using MD5, what the result you're going to get is 128-bit long fingerprint. And because this is quite small, you can use RSA to encrypt this instead. Let's have a look how it works. Bob has a last message M to send. All right, what he's going to do is he is going to apply a hash function over M. As a result, you have this h of M, okay, a fixed side message digest. And then Bob is going to apply his private key to encrypt the h of M. The resulting is encrypted message digest KB minus of h of M. All right, and Bob is going to send this encrypted digest along with original message M right here. When Alice receives a message, of course, she is going to receive the pair, all right? That is KB minus h of M along with the M. What she's going to do is that she's going to decrypt this encrypted digest, okay, using Bob's public key. As a result, she is going to have this h of M back. But as you may recall, the message digest is a result of a hash function, which is a one-way function. It means that you cannot just apply h minus or some other algorithm to get the original M back. What Alice is going to do is that she is going to leave the message digest right here, and then take this second part, okay, of the pair, which is the original text M, okay, apply hash function on her side and get the message digest h of M. And then she is going to compare whether the h of M that she computes herself is the same as the message digest that she decode or decrypt using Bob's public key. If these two values are equal, it means that Bob is the one that created this pair with signed message digest, okay, using RSA or using this the encrypted hash value. Alice can be sure that Bob's message has not been changed, okay, because Bob is the one that encrypt the message, that signed the message, okay. So we have the message integrity. But if you may recall, you are sending, okay, the entire pair, which is this part, and the original text. That means that we don't have no confidentiality. And still, here's a million-dollar question. How can we be sure that this public key is actually from Bob? All this may work, but how can we verify, how can we authenticate that Bob is the actual owner of this public key? So we want confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, and fast. It means like it has to work fast. How do we do that? Solution is symmetric key. Okay. The problem we have is key distribution. So we can combine, okay, we can combine symmetric key and public key cryptos to make the entire system work. such that we have the confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, and we can have it work it fast, all right? Because simple key crypto works much faster than ISA. And here is how it looks. Now we have large message M to send, okay? First step, we have to hash the message M using a hash function, and as a result, we're gonna have H of M, which is the fixed site digest, okay? And we're gonna encrypt this digest using Bob's private key KB+. As a result, we're gonna have the encrypted message digest KB+ of H of M, which is gonna be small because we just encrypt only the digest. Now we're gonna put this encrypted digest together with a large message M, and that could be quite large because this message could be large. All right. Now the next step is that we are gonna use the symmetry key KS to encrypt the entire pair using this symmetry key encryption algorithm. As a result, we will have this encrypted pair that is encrypted using the key KS. And that could be quite large because, again, this M could be large, but this one is relatively small, all right? But now, this leads us to the key distribution problem. How can Bob and Alice share this key and be sure that Trudy doesn't intercept or know about this key KS? The solution to that is we are going to encrypt this key using Alice's public key KA+. As a result, we are going to have this encrypted symmetry key, okay, KA+ of KS right here. And then along with this encrypted pair, we're gonna send this entire thing to Alice. And well, up to this point, I think you can guess that Alice can use her private key to decrypt this key KS, and then once she has this key KS, she can decrypt the entire pair, okay? And once she and after that, she can use Bob's public key to get the H of M, and then she can apply the hash function over this M to make sure that this this H of M and this H of M are the same. And then now you have it. She has the integrity. And she has the integrity because the message is encrypted using this symmetry key that is encrypted using her public key. But that leads us to the last problem, authenticity. The problem occurs on both sides. First, how can Bob knows that this public keys belong to Alice? And Alice also wants to make sure that when she decrypt this pair, this fingerprint using Bob's public key, how can she be sure that Bob's is the person, I mean the Bob that she want to talk to, that encrypts using his private key right here, all right? So in summary, both sides doesn't know that the public key that they have belongs to the actual owner of that key pair or not. That is, public key crypto is useful only when you can verify who owns the pair of private and public key, all right? If it's the person, at least want to make sure that Bob is the actual person, actual Bob that generates the key pair, okay? But if it's not a it's not a person, if it is server, like a web server, you want to make sure that if I am using this public key to connect to a website of my bank, I want to make sure that this website belongs to the bank and not some Trudy pretend that set up another website pretend to be my bank website. All right, we need a trusted third party who can verify the identity of the guys that generate this key pair. And that trusted third party, okay, is called a certification authority, or CA. What CA does is it validates the entities, okay, identities of the entities, and it also issues what we call the certificate. Okay, the certificate is the digital piece of information that binds the entity and the public key of that entity. And it is also proven that if you have this public key, the CA verifies that this public key actually belongs to Bob. Either he is a person, or he's a company, or he is the eligible website. And this is how CA works. First, Bob has to verify his identity with a CA to obtain a certificate. The process is like this. Bob generates a key pair, private and public keys, all right? And then he is going to submit his public key, KB plus, to CA along with his identity, like his birth certificate or his ID card, or if he's a company, it's gonna be some documentation that prove that, okay, I am an employee of this company, and this is my public key. All right. Once CA verifies that once CA verify the identity of Bob, okay, CA can stamp, okay, or create a pair of entity and the public key and sign using CA's private key, KC minus here. And as a result, Bob's gonna have the certificate, okay, that shows his name on that, show his public key on that, and sign, okay, using CA private key. With such certificate, Alice can trust Bob's public key, right, by verifying with the CA first. For example, Alice has Bob's certificate, okay? She is going to decrypt this certificate using CA's public key, KC+, and she is going to receive Bob's public key along with his identity, all right? But here is again, the same problem. How can we know that this key pair, all right, belongs to the CA? Well, in the end, okay, you cannot be sure. You cannot be 100% sure that the guy that signed for any guy's certificate is actually the eligible or trustworthy certification authority or not. In the end, you have to trust someone. Okay, and how it works in the real world right now is that big companies like Google that creates Google Chrome, or Microsoft, who is a developer of Edge, okay, and all these companies know each other's public key, okay, so they're creating what we call a web of trust. So I trust this company trusts this company, trusts this company. In the end, you are going to trust that this key is from the companies or CA that is big enough and trustworthy enough. So we have discussed quite a few principles of network security. We have discussed confidentiality. We have discussed the message integrity, and we also discussed the certificate authority that leads to authentication. Okay, what we have discussed is the access and availability, and that discussion come together with security in practice. We want to show you that all these principles has already been built in to the tool, to the digital technology that we are using today. The first example that we're going to discuss is PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy. It is the email encryption scheme that employs RSA and message digest that we have discussed earlier. Okay, it is one of the most popular schemes. Okay, it uses perimeter key crypto along with public key cryptos, a hash function, digital signature to sign and send secured email from one individual to another individual. Okay, it was created, proposed by Phil Zimmermann, and when he introduced PGP cryptography is still considered by the US government as as a weapon. So as a result, Phil Zimmermann, the guy that introduced PGP, was target for federal investigation for a few years until, well, when cryptography was open, everybody's using it. He is no longer a threat to the US government. And this is the example of the message that is signed in PGP or using PGP. First, you're going to say that, okay, I'm using hash SHA-1, okay, version 1, and Alice is sending some secret message to Bob. Bob, my husband out of town tonight, passionately yours, Alice, okay? And then she is going to sign and send this, okay, using her signature, and then this is the end of the message. Bob can be sure that this is message sent by Alice. All right, so we discussed how we encrypt email and how we verify the sender of the email using PGP, Protocol Privacy Protocol. How about something else? Okay, the other thing, the most important protocols in network security that we use today is SSL, Secure Socket Layer. It is cryptographic protocol designed to prevent eavesdropping and message tampering. Okay, itself operates in application layer, so on top of TCP or network layer. All right, SSL originally designed by Netscape. Netscape is the first company that produced a commercial web browser. Well, if you're not familiar with Netscape, that's okay, because it is now defunct. The descendant of Netscape browser is Firefox. Okay, Netscape was dead mainly because Microsoft also developed their own infamous Internet Explorer and built the Internet Explorer IE into Windows, and people kind of moved from Netscape to IE, and then Google introduced Google Chrome, and now we're using Chrome and IE or Edge mainly. But yeah, some people still use Firefox, which again come from Netscape. All right. Anyway, Netscape introduced SSL as part of HTTPS protocol to encode or encrypt the messages that are being sent between web browsers and web servers. Okay, it provides server authentication and data encryption when the server and browser are transferring data to each other. Okay. You know that website is encrypted or not by seeing this padlock symbol next to the URL. Okay, SSL is now deprecated. The newer version of SSL, well, they belong to the same protocol family. It is called TLS or Transport Layer Security. All right, SSL and TLS, sometimes they are just used together like this. SSL, even though it is deprecated, companies and web browser, web server, even technicians still call them together, SSL or TLS. You can think of it as them as the same thing. All right, TLS is basically a newer version of SSL. Anyway, SSL TLS enabled web browser will always include public keys of trusted CA, so the most popular CAs. How it works is like this. When you access to a website, okay, web browsers will check the public key of that website and check back with the certificate authority that sign or issue the certificate for that website. Okay, so it basically like this. I see a website. I go to a website. I see the public key. Okay, and then that public key will always show that, okay, this public key is signed by CAXX. So what web browser is gonna do is that, okay, do I know XX? Okay, I know. And then I gotta consult XX whether this certificate is legitimate or not. Okay, and if you see a website that doesn't have the legitimate CA, okay, that doesn't have legitimate certificate or has no certificate or altogether, you're gonna see something like this. This website, some warning like this website is not secure or cannot be trusted. Okay, or this certificate is invalid. SSL has been introduced since 1995, all right, but it has not been widely used, or it is not wide enough. So in July of 2018, Google Chrome warns all the users that this website is not secure if that website doesn't use HTTPS protocol. Okay, and it means that the website must use encryption and must also have a valid certificate. Otherwise, you're gonna see this not secure over on the address bar, or you're gonna see something like this. And this doesn't it is not just stop at Google Chrome. All web browsers today gonna issue some kind of warning when you visit a website that is not secure. So all websites must obtain certificate. Well, if you ask me, certificate to obtain a certificate, it's not that expensive. Commercial certificate is going to cost around $50 to $400 a year, depends on what kind of certificate you want to obtain. All right, but again, $50 is $50. Some people don't want to pay for it. There is, of course, some free services like Let's Encrypt that you can use, okay, to sign your own certificate. There are many kinds of certificate types, right? And the prices are different, as mentioned earlier, $50 to $400 a year. So what are the differences between these types? First, we have the domain validation. Okay, in domain validation, or DV, the certification authority gonna prove only two things: that you own the server and you own the domain name. All right. So what it does is that when I open a web server, okay, I am going to access to that server and create a new pair of keys, private key and public key. I store private key on my server and I submit public key to the CA. The CA receives my my domain name, okay, and my domain name and my public key, and create a certificate over it. That's it. It proves two things: server and domain name. Why do I and what is the benefit of doing so? It's to prevent the user from connecting to the false or wrong server. Imagine I want to connect to facebook.com, okay, and the attacker hijacked my DNS server. Okay, so I am redirected instead of to legitimate facebook.com. I was redirected to the attacker's website that looks like facebook.com, and the DV certificate prevents that attack. All right, this certificate can be issued in minutes, basically, because it doesn't check anything. It checks that, okay, this guy submitted the key, okay, and this guy submitted his domain name. That's all. Just to be clear here, all right, you need to configure your domain name, your domain configuration a little bit to make sure that you are the guys that own the domain name, or you are the guys that administrate the domain name. But it doesn't prove the biggest problem. It doesn't check with who owns that domain name. If for example, if I own Nike.com or if I own Facebook.com, am I legitimate Nike corporation or not? Or do I work for Meta or not to register for Facebook.com? And to make sure that the company, okay, that apply for certificate actually is the legitimate company or not, you're going to need another kind of certificate. And this is what we call the OV, or organization validation. OV proof that you own the server, proof that you own the domain name. It proves a bit more. It proves that you are actually legitimate entity that is supposed to own that domain name. It proves your business authentication, or if you are individual, it also proves that you are the legitimate person or not. Okay, so apart from submitting just the domain name and your public key, you need to also submit your paperwork to the CA. And the CA gonna take some time to verify that, okay, all this paperwork checked out and you are who you claim to be. Okay, so the certificates can be issued in a few days. It depends on how long the CA takes to approve your entity. Okay, this is what we normally use, DV and OV. That should be enough because you prove that you own the name, a domain name. You prove that you own the server, and you prove that, okay, you prove who you are. But if you want to step up a little bit further, you can also apply for EV, extended validation. This is the highest level of trust. Okay, it in the previous version of browser, sometimes it shows the address bar with your company on it with the green character. Okay, well, but currently the web browser doesn't want to show that anymore. It could issue again in a few days or up to 5 days. It works. In effect, it works like OV. You just have to pay more to get your name on the certificate. And this is how it looks like. All right. Facebook, okay, used only OV. Once you click on this padlock icon on Facebook, okay, you can check the security certificate. Like, okay, this connection is secure. Your information, for example, password or credit card number is private and is safe to send to this website because the certificate authority already verified that this server belongs to Facebook.com. Now, even some financial website like Binance also use OV, okay, to verify that this connection is secure and certificate is valid. But if you work for big companies or big bank, that you want to make sure that, okay, you can trust me. I am who I am, and I claim to be who I claim. I am who I claim to be. Example is the website kasikornbank.com. Okay, they apply for the extended validation or EV certificate. In this case, you're gonna have this little line right here saying that certificate is valid, and this certificate is issued to Kasikorn Bank Public Company Limited. All right. In contrast, these guys, it just says certificate is valid. Well, but do not be afraid. Okay. Once you, if you see just this, you can be sure that this Facebook.com belongs to Facebook Inc. or right now Meta. All right. This is just to, if you ask me, a little bit of show off. You don't actually need this, but most banks or financial companies has that, but not all. For example, Binance doesn't even have one. SSL session starts by the client side. Okay, when the client wants to establish connection to a server, it will just contact the server and establish what we call the SSL TLS handshaking. Okay, the handshake again started by a client, and it will specify which version of TLS to use, 1, 1.2, 1.3. And next step is that once the server and the client agree on which version they're going to use, the client is going to retrieve the certificate from the server and check that recheck that certificate with the CA. All right, and then both sides are going to exchange some parameters such that they are generating the shared key. Okay, the session specific key by their own. So as you may recall, if you use PGP, all right, the Bob, when Bob want to encrypt his message and send to Alice, he is generating the symmetric key and then encrypt that symmetric key using Alice public key and send that key to Alice. But in this case, they are not sending anything. All right, they increase the level of security by sending a few parameters, some randomized number, and both sides, client and server, will automatically generate the key by themselves, and that symmetric key is going to look the same. The protocol that they use to generate or to exchange the parameters to generate a key is called Diffie-Hellman or DH protocol. Parameters are exchanged between client and server during the handshaking, and once the key are generated on both sides, they can use the symmetric key crypto, normally AES, to exchange data between them. And AES works so fast they can transfer pretty much anything in real time. You want to do either video call, okay, audio calls, instant messages, anything. All right, and this is what we are using today: SSL and TLS. So we have covered everything. We have covered confidentiality, message integrity, and how can we authenticate our partners in communication. We have also proof that network security is accessible and widely available. We have come so far from Caesar cipher, Enigma machine, to what we have today. We use encryption, we use encoding all the time. We use it every day without actually knowing it. All right. If you ask me, we successfully embedded all our technology, all right, in our everyday lives. So we can, well, sleep safely each night, knowing that our secret is secure. Nevertheless, nothing is truly secure. RSA, for instance, even though it is super strong, it is still crackable. All right, the chance that you're gonna find a key is low, like very, very highly unlikely, but it's still there. All right, and people could get your password login messages from some other ways, like asking system admin or some other flaw somewhere else, not in the encryption algorithm by itself, but some other places. Okay, so nothing is truly safe, and you need to keep that in mind. That's it. Thanks a lot for joining me today, and we will see each other in the next session.